2 days before the wedding, Jessica stood before the three-way mirror, the ivory silk of her wedding dress cascading around her like liquid moonlight. Her bridesmaids gasped appropriately. "You're absolutely perfect," Melissa whispered, adjusting the train. "Trevor is the luckiest man alive." Jessica forced a smile, studying her reflection. The dress was perfect. The ring was perfect. Trevor was perfect, devoted, successful, and blindly in love with her. So why did she feel like she was suffocating? "2 more days," her mother said, wiping away a tear. My baby girl, finally settling down with her soulmate. Jessica nodded, feeling the familiar restlessness crawl beneath her skin like insects. The same feeling that had followed her through 3 serious relationships before Trevor. The same feeling that made her sabotage anything good in her life. "I need some air," she said suddenly, gathering her dress. "Just give me a minute." Outside the bridal shop, she lit a cigarette, a habit Trevor thought she'd quit years ago, and scrolled through her phone until a text from an unknown number made her freeze. "I'm in town for the wedding. We should talk." David Trevor's father, the man Trevor hadn't spoken to in 8 years, the man who had abandoned his family without explanation. Jessica's finger hovered over the delete button, but instead she typed, "Whiskey bar, 9 p.m., come alone." The whiskey bar was nearly empty when Jessica arrived. David sat in the corner booth, looking disturbingly like an older version of Trevor. Same jawline, same intense eyes, but with streaks of silver in his dark hair and the weathered complexion of someone who'd lived hard. "I wasn't sure you'd come," David said, sliding a drink toward her. "Trevor doesn't know you're here," Jessica replied, downing the whiskey in one gulp. "And he wouldn't want to see you." "I didn't come for Trevor." David's eyes locked on hers. "I came because I saw your engagement announcement and couldn't believe my son was marrying someone who looked exactly like..." "Like who?" Jessica interrupted, signaling for another drink. David reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers. "You're making a mistake, Jessica. Trevor is just like me. He'll suffocate you eventually. You don't know your son at all." "I know you, though," David said softly. "I recognized it the moment I saw your photo. That look in your eyes. You're a runner, just like me." 4 drinks later, the bar began to spin. David's hand was on her knee, then higher. "This is wrong," Jessica murmured, even as she leaned closer. "Then why does it feel inevitable?" David whispered against her ear. The next thing Jessica remembered was morning light streaming through unfamiliar curtains, David's arm draped across her naked body, and the crushing weight of what she'd done settling on her chest. "Just a few more flower arrangements and we're done," Melissa chirped as they entered Garden Grove Market, the upscale grocery store that also housed a boutique florist. Jessica nodded mechanically, her mind replaying last night's mistake on endless loop. She'd showered 3 times but could still feel David's hands on her skin. "I'll meet you at the florist," Jessica said. "I need to grab some aspirin." In the pharmacy aisle, she caught a man watching her, tall with broad shoulders and a security guard uniform. "Wedding planning emergency?" he asked, nodding at her shaking hands as she struggled with the pill bottle. "Something like that," she replied. "Jake," he said, extending his hand. "I've seen you in here before." Jessica. His palm was warm against hers, and something electric passed between them. An hour later, Jessica found herself pressed against metal shelves in the store's storage room, Jake's uniform half unbuttoned as his mouth traveled down her neck. "I'm getting married in 2 days," she gasped, even as she pulled him closer. "Then I guess we don't have much time," Jake replied, lifting her onto a stack of boxes. In that moment, Jessica realized she wasn't just making a mistake, She was deliberately burning her life to the ground, and something dark inside her was enjoying the flames. Trevor sat at his desk, surrounded by crumpled papers as he worked on his wedding vows. Jessica watched from the doorway, her heart splitting open with guilt and a strange, detached fascination at her own capacity for destruction. "Hey, beautiful," Trevor said, looking up with a smile that made her stomach twist. "How was shopping?" "Fine." Jessica forced herself to cross the room and kiss his forehead. "What are you working on?" "My vows. I want them to be perfect." He took her hand. "You know what's amazing? When I look at us 50 years from now, I can still see us just as we are, completely honest, completely faithful." Jessica swallowed hard. "I'm gonna take a shower." In the bathroom, she turned the water as hot as it would go, trying to scald away the touch of two different men. When she emerged, Trevor was asleep on the couch, his vows tucked beneath a book. Quietly, Jessica went to his childhood box of photos he'd been sorting for the rehearsal dinner slideshow. Inside was a picture she'd never seen before, a younger David with his arm around a woman who wasn't Trevor's mother, a woman with Jessica's exact shade of blonde hair and wide-set eyes. With trembling fingers, Jessica turned the photo over. Written on the back, "David and Louise, 1992. Her mother's name was Louise. "Your mother never mentioned knowing Trevor's father?" Melissa asked. Her voice hushed as they sat in Jessica's car outside the venue. "She says she doesn't remember him," Jessica replied, gripping the steering wheel. "But something doesn't add up. The way David looked at me when we first met. It wasn't just attraction." "Jess, what have you done?" Melissa's face was pale. "Please tell me you didn't—" "I can't talk about it," Jessica interrupted, her phone buzzing with another text from David. "We need to talk about Louise." Across town, Jake leaned against the employee break room fridge, grinning as his coworker Mark punched him in the arm. "Seriously? The hot blonde getting married this weekend?" "No way," Mark said. "Storage room, man. She was insatiable," Jake bragged, showing Mark a photo he'd secretly taken of Jessica leaving the room, her hair disheveled. Mark frowned. "Wait, blonde? Getting married at Riverbend? Is her fiancé named Trevor Grant?" Jake shrugged. "I don't know his name." "Jesus, Jake." Mark pulled out his phone. "Trevor's my cousin." "Mr. Grant, we found your package," the store manager said as Trevor followed him to the back office. "It was misplaced in receiving." "Thanks for calling me," Trevor replied, checking his watch. "I've got the rehearsal dinner in 2 hours." "Big weekend, huh? Congratulations." The manager tapped a few keys on his computer. "Actually, while you're here, could you help me identify someone in our security footage? There was an incident yesterday near where your package was found." The grainy footage showed the storage room hallway. Trevor leaned forward, squinting at the screen. "That looks like—" He stopped as Jessica came into frame, followed by a security guard. They were laughing. His hand was on her lower back, guiding her into the storage room. The timestamp showed they remained inside for 43 minutes. "That's your fiancé, isn't it?" the manager asked, then noticed Trevor's expression. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize." But Trevor was already walking out, his phone buzzing with a text from an unknown number. "You need to know what Jessica and your father have been doing." Jessica was arranging welcome bags when Trevor walked into their apartment, his face expressionless. "How was your day?" she asked, not meeting his eyes. "Educational." Trevor tossed his phone onto the coffee table. On the screen was a photo of her leaving the storage room with Jake. "Wanna tell me what's going on?" Jessica's knees gave out. "Trevor, I don't." His voice was ice. "Just tell me why, one day before our rehearsal, 2 days before we promise forever. Why?" I don't know, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Something's wrong with me, Trevor. I've always been this way. I destroy things. The security guard, Trevor said flatly. Is that all? Jessica opened her mouth to confess everything when their apartment door opened. David stood in the doorway, eyes wild. Jessica, we need to talk, he said, then stopped when he saw Trevor. Son. Don't call me that, Trevor spat. What are you doing here? David looked from Trevor to Jessica, understanding dawning on his face. She didn't tell you. Tell me what? Trevor demanded. David took a step forward. That I'm in love with her, that we've been seeing each other since I came back to town. The church was filled with flowers and expectant guests. Trevor's mother kept checking her watch. Where's Jessica? She whispered to Melissa. And where's Trevor? Melissa shook her head, her eyes red from crying. I don't know. Across town, Jessica stuffed clothes into a suitcase as David paced her hotel room. This is insane, she said. We can't just leave. We have to face what we've done. There's more you don't know, David insisted, grabbing her arms. About your mother and me, about why I've been watching you all these years. Jessica pulled away. What are you talking about? Louise and I were together first, before I met Trevor's mother. David's eyes were desperate, 9 months before you were born. Jessica felt the room tilt. You're lying. I saw your birth certificate when you applied for the marriage license. The DNA test I took yesterday confirms it. A knock at the door made them both jump. Jessica? Trevor's voice called from the hallway. I know you're in there. Open up. The church fell silent as Trevor walked down the aisle alone, his face a mask of calm devastation. He reached the altar and turned to face the confused guests. There won't be a wedding today, he announced, but there will be a truth-telling. He nodded to his best man, who pressed a button on a laptop. The church speakers crackled to life with Jessica's voice. Trevor is just like you. He'll never understand me the way you do. Then David's, I've watched you for years, Jessica. Ever since I found out about you. Jessica stumbled into the church, her face ashen. Trevor, please. You said you didn't know why you do these things, Trevor continued, his voice breaking. But I know. You're broken, Jessica, and I can't fix you. The doors burst open again as Jake entered, phone in hand. Jessica, the video of us is everywhere. Someone posted it online with your full name and wedding details. Gasps rippled through the church as recognition dawned on the guests' faces. Phones began to light up with notifications. I didn't, Jake started, but Mark stood up from the third row, his expression grim. I did, Mark said. My cousin deserved to know who he was really marrying. Jessica looked around at the sea of horrified faces, her mother's shock, Trevor's parents' disgust, her friends' pity, and realized she'd finally achieved what some hidden part of her had always wanted, to be completely exposed with nowhere left to hide. Trevor, she whispered, I never meant— Yes, you did, Trevor replied quietly. That's the worst part. Some part of you meant for all of this to happen. As he walked away, Jessica remained frozen at the altar, finally understanding that her greatest betrayal hadn't been to Trevor, but to herself.
If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications.